Uh, hello, and welcome to Political Science 320 slash Sociology 320 Research Methods in the Social Science. I am Brian Shelley. I will be your professor this semester. And the first thing I should do is point out that you may have noticed my obvious weirdness with sort of this video thing. This is officially the first class that I've ever recorded by video. Obviously not the ideal way to go about making a class, running a class for the first day, but unfortunately it's kind of necessary. When I'm not teaching at VCU, some of you may know that I run a education consulting company, Advanced Education Measurement, and in fact I'm coming to you live from AEM World Headquarters, which is a spare bedroom in my house. As part of my job, I need to travel quite a bit, and so there are going to be instances throughout the semester in which I'm going to need to video a class and have you guys watch it. This is probably, as you can tell by the fact I can't get this tripod to work, this is probably much more novel to me than it is to you. You guys are probably all very well versed in doing this. I crave your patience as I sort of work the video problems out, and I thank you for being able to work with me on this. This session and our next two sessions are going to be video. Our first live in-class meeting will be September 2nd, Tuesday, September 2nd, the day after Labor Day. For the first three meetings, I will try to post videos of the class session well in advance of when the actual class session would be. You're responsible for all the material and every video lecture throughout the semester. It is just as fair game for exams, quizzes, all that good stuff, but we'll get into that in a second. I will also make sure that I have the readings up for next week's classes probably by Tuesday. So in other words, the day after you're getting this. And yeah, so in summary, video classes now and for next week, readings will be posted, video will be posted, and then we'll all come together on September 2nd. So normally in the first time that this class meets, when I teach it, I try to do an exercise that is designed solely to put you guys at ease. And to make it clear that first and foremost, yeah, I kind of know the deal and I know why you're here. I assume that most of you aren't here because you have a great, deep, abiding passion for the details of social science methodology. Not exactly sort of a great party conversation at that. My understanding is that a lot of you are here because it's required or highly recommended. I know for sociology students, this course is required. For political science and a lot of other social science departments, I believe it's highly recommended. But one way or another, you may not be here as excited as you are starting off some of your other courses this semester. And that's perfectly okay. This is a course on political science methodology where we pursue the truth, so we should at least acknowledge the truth as we get started. It's actually not the case for me, though. This is the course, and I've been teaching college students now for about 10 years. This is the one course that I love to teach more than any other. This is the course that I request to teach more of and more sections of whenever I get the chance. I actually do really have a passion for this stuff, not necessarily for the details, but for helping people understand the way that social scientists think and for understanding why it's important and demystifying it so that it is accessible to not just sort of people with PhDs or statisticians or things like that, but people who are actually like you, interested in politics, interested in sociology, and yeah, and they care about these topics. I think I'm pretty good at it, but my hope is that I can make this class, if not your favorite, at least one that you'll enjoy coming to and that you'll look back on fondly. I don't think this has to be boring, and I think that the topics we deal with in this in this class, once you get rid of all the sort of jargon and stuff that we PhDs like to use, are actually quite interesting. And I'm going to do everything I can to make them interesting. All right? So, what is this class going to be about this semester? Ultimately, what this class is about is how we know what we know. I'll say that again. This class is about how we know what we know. Because whether you're in sociology, political science, or some other course, everything that feeds into this course, all the disciplines, consider themselves to be social sciences. And if we're social sciences, well, science, we think, deals with facts, right? So this is going to be a course about facts in social life. So how do we know that we have the right facts? How do we know that we have good facts, quality facts about social life? How do we know that something that we care about in sociology or political science is true beyond the shadow of a doubt? Now, that might seem obvious to you, but it actually gets a little bit tricky. And probably the best way to think about this is to think about the differences between the hard sciences and us in the social sciences. Now, in the hard sciences, I'm talking about stuff like biology, chemistry, and physics. All right? So if you remember back to your high school physics class, you can probably think of at least one formula that you had to learn, or maybe that you heard of because it's famous. I'm talking about stuff here like E equals mc squared, Einstein's theory of relativity. Or a great high school physics one that I always remember is force equals mass times acceleration, F equals ma. Simple, right? What's nice about these equations is that, except in very, very, very unusual circumstances, as in sort of the outer edges of quantum physics, but in 99.99999% of the instances in the universe, these rules are always true, okay? If you know the mass and acceleration of something, you can figure out the force that it generates, okay? So F equals ma is always true. It's a law in the hard sciences. Now, let's switch our focus back to the social sciences, okay? I study politics. I'm a political scientist. One of the truest things that we know about American politics is that someone's race has a great deal of impact on who they vote for in American politics. So, this is particularly true of African Americans, right? African Americans, even before Obama, went at high levels for the Democratic Party, much higher than sort of any other racial or ethnic group goes for any single one party in the American political system. We're talking about African Americans always vote 90% Democrat or more, okay? 90% or more. So we might say to ourselves, okay, well, this sounds like a law of political science, that African Americans are going to vote Democrat. Well, already you've probably figured out that this is not as ironclad a law as F equals ma is in physics, okay? For one thing, we've got these 10% of the people. We've got some minority that proves that race is not determinant of your vote, okay? That's pretty obvious. A couple other things. One thing is that it's harder to define key terms. In order for us to say that African Americans vote Democrat, we have to be able to define what an African American is. And any of you who have done any kind of work in racial and ethnic studies, African American studies, things like that, know that these questions of identity are really troubling, and that it's really hard to come up with a definition of African American that satisfies exactly what we mean. For example, someone who has one white parent and one black parent. Is that person African American, or is that person biracial, or are they both? Okay. What about African immigrants? You would think that African immigrants, particularly those with dark skin, I mean, the name of the group is African American, you would think that they fall into the category of African American. But it actually turns out that immigrant politics, immigrant African politics, once they come to the United States, are very, very, very different than those of black people native to the United States. Okay? A third problem with the idea that race equals vote is that sort of as a hypothesis, it's harder to test. It's harder to isolate effects. And so what I'm talking about here is that, look, the majority of African Americans vote for the Democratic Party. Unfortunately, African American race is highly correlated with income in this country. So unfortunately, African Americans are much more likely to be in the lowest income brackets of society. So then we can ask ourselves, 90% of African Americans are voting for the Democrat Party, yes. But are they voting for the Democratic Party because they are black? Or are they voting for the Democrat Party because they are lower income, and the Democrat parties usually are thought to be more friendly to lower income people than those of the Republican Party? Again, which is the key variable here? Does race really cause politics, or is there some third thing that's going on? And as we said, last thing to think of, remember people like Clarence Thomas, right? Remember people like Condoleezza Rice. Not everyone who is African American is a Democrat. Again, that's an obvious truism, but it just shows that's about as close. African American votes Democrat is about as close a thing we have in the study of American politics to F equals MA in physics. And that's the best we can do, and still there are all these little problems that make it clear that social science is messier than the hard science. Social science is, I would say, more difficult than the hard sciences. Because in social science, either human interaction doesn't operate by fixed rules the way F equals MA operates. These fixed rules don't function in every situation, in every instance that we care about. Or because social life is so complicated, we have a harder time identifying what those rules are because of all the extra factors that can muddle our results. Again, think about how does income fit in with race, okay? How does that muddle our understanding of the relationship between race and politics, okay? Maybe race works, maybe it only works in certain situations, or it only works in tandem with certain variables, but it certainly seems to get more complicated more quickly than physics or the hard sciences does. And yet, we don't just want to throw up our hands and say like, oh, okay, it's impossible to come up with rules. It's impossible to come up with unbiased rules in the social sciences. And you'll often hear people talk about this, right? They will talk about, oh, okay, the Democrats, they have their own set of statistics. And the Republicans, they have their own set of statistics. And the Green Party and the Tea Party, everybody has their different statistics, and you can't trust any of it because it's all biased, because we can't have good, hard information that we agree upon in politics, all right? But if we switch our focus a little bit, let's think about the question of, let's think about, we want to evaluate whether a healthcare strategy is working in Africa to reduce AIDS in Africa, okay? That's a question that desperately needs to be informed by data, right? We need to know whether cures are working, all right? And we need to know, for example, whether or not reform in Richmond's school system. That's kind of what I do in my consulting business, is I try to go around and help school districts understand in as unbiased a fashion as possible yeah, that reading program that you implemented, is that working? Like, how can you know if it's working before you go a whole year before you go a whole year and the test scores come back? At that point, the information is too late to do anything. So we have all these concepts that relate to social science, that relate to social life in the United States, that are inherently tricky to measure and inherently tricky to draw hard facts from. And yet, what I'm going to argue throughout this class is that despite the fact that it is hard, and despite the fact that we may never be able to get F equals MA level of certainty in the social sciences, we may find that, and we do find, I believe, and I will argue, that we can have some facts about social life that all reasonable people can agree on if we are careful in how we collect the data, collect the information that supports those facts. And that's incredibly important, right? All you need to do is turn on the news at any point and you see that we are a country divided. We are a world divided, okay? What I argue throughout this class is that by really thinking about how we construct facts about social life, we can come up with something that is a common ground, that sort of, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Tea Party, Libertarian, or somebody who lives in the middle of Siberia and doesn't even know anything about the American political system, I believe that we can have a set of facts about social life that unite us and help us bring that gap together. Okay, that's what this course is about. If it seems a little abstract right now, don't worry. We spend the first couple weeks sort of fleshing out the ideas that I'm talking about here. Yeah, if you have any questions about the approach of the course, obviously you can email me or call me, and let's get into that right now as we talk about some logistics, okay? This is the syllabus. Yay, syllabus. It is the same syllabus for both sections of this course. That does not, or both sections that I'm teaching, excuse me. That does not mean that we will all have the same experience in this course, but for right now, I'm using a common syllabus for both sections 005 and 006, okay? We meet Tuesday and Thursday, Temple Building 2226. I don't know where that is yet, but by September 2nd, I will figure that out. You are responsible for going to the section that you're assigned to. That is the 005 people. I'll see you at 12:30 on, I think it's 12:30, on Tuesdays and Thursdays. 006 people, I think we start at 2 on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Please come to the section that you're assigned to, okay? If you need to get in contact with me, and this seems particularly relevant since you're not going to meet me in person for about 2 weeks yet, my phone number, my email address, and my Twitter handle are all on the syllabus, which I emailed to you last week and which I'm going to attach in the email that lets you know that this video clip's available. Okay? Please feel free to reach out. I have no problem with you calling my cell phone or texting me. I frankly like it when students do. It makes me feel more connected. This is especially important because I don't hold formal office hours because I don't have an office at VCU. But I'm around most of the time. As a person running my own business, I can sort of accommodate meeting much of the time to your schedule. Call me, email me. Don't hesitate to use it, please. Okay. All readings on the syllabus are required. 3 books you should purchase, all of which are in the bookstore, I think. If that's not true, please email me, but I submitted them a couple weeks ago, so hopefully they're here. They are Mannheim and Rich's Empirical Political Analysis, Pollack's and SPSS Companion to Political Analysis, and Lewis's Moneyball. Get those books. You have a little bit of time. I don't think we start in on the on any of the books until we get to the Mannheim reading on the 4th of September. But yeah, get on the books. And if you find that it's cheaper to get the books online, I would encourage you to do that. Okay. Grades. So there are, let me just make sure I have all copies of the syllabus here. Sorry. Bad printer at home. Having a hard time figuring out where all the syllabus parts went. Anyway, okay. So 5 parts of your grade. All right. Part number 1 is class participation. All right. I will take attendance at every in-class session, and as soon as I figure out how to know whether you guys have watched the video or not, I will be monitoring that. You are expected to make every session of this class unless you make arrangements with me and have my explicit permission to make the class, or to miss the class, I'm sorry. That being said, I know that stuff happens. The general rule of thumb when I was an undergraduate, and which I hold, is that you can miss 2 classes a semester and not have it affect your class participation grade. Anything more than that, and I will start taking points away from your class participation grade. It's not enough to simply be in class, to be a physical body there. I try to run this class as a discussion as much as possible. I think that that's just the best way to make sure that you guys are getting the information, and frankly to make it fun for all of us. I don't want to sit up here and lecture for all semester. Come to class having done the reading, ready to ask questions on it, ready to have discussions on it that sort of take the issues brought up in the reading and bring them to sort of a higher level. Okay, so be ready to participate is basically all that comes down to. In-class reading quizzes. 4 times during our course, I will offer quizzes. I will warn you right now, they will be different for each section. So just because the 12:30 class has a quiz doesn't mean you can text your friend in the 2 o'clock class and say, oh, hey, you're having a quiz, get boned up on the reading, okay? The quizzes will be designed to test your knowledge of the reading that was assigned for that day, okay? And I will tell you right now, when I read these quizzes, I am looking for evidence that you have done the reading and understand the most basic concepts behind the reading, okay? It will not be, none of these quizzes will be a problem for you if you do the reading, okay? If you do the reading, everybody should get a 10 out of 10 on every quiz. Obviously, I don't tell you when the quizzes are because this is an incentive to keep you to do the reading. And you do get 1 get-out-of-jail-free card. I give 4 quizzes. The worst quiz score we take away at the when I go to calculate this 15% of your grade. And then each of your additional quizzes is worth 5% of your final grade. Okay? Yeah, that's all I really have to say about quizzes. If you look, third thing is that if you look at your syllabus, you will see that I have scheduled 2 stats labs, one on November 11th and one on November 20th. So we do some stats in this course, and we do stats mainly because I want you not to be able to do statistical analysis at a high level necessarily, but I want you to not be scared of stats. I want you to not be scared when you see numbers. All the stuff that you'll see in social science journal articles, it's actually not as hard to read as all those numbers and all those stars and stuff make it out to be. And it is a valuable skill for you going forward to be able to read and understand a little bit the logic of statistical analysis. I promise I teach this course for the math phobic. You will need almost no math skills to do this. You may need to subtract and add a little. Multiplication, division, that's about it. That's about as complicated as we get. I try to teach all of the statistics in this course using real-life social science examples that give you something you can hold on to. All right? I am aware that if you are a sociology or a political science major, math is probably not your forte. I am aware you probably signed up for these majors thinking, in the words of that one movie, there would be no math. There's math here, and there's no way to avoid it, and your ability to do statistical analysis will be tested only in these 2 stats labs. All right? I will give you a lot of examples about what the stats labs will look like before we do them. You will kind of know what's coming, I hope. I will be in class with you for both of these stats labs so that you have the ability to ask me questions that I can help you where I come. And again, they won't require a ton of math, but we do have to do some testing of numbers in this course. But what that means is that this is really the only 20% where you will have to do any calculation. You can do very well in this course and be completely hopeless with numbers, and none of you are completely hopeless with numbers, okay? I expect you might have some questions about the stats labs. I will do some brief questions on logistics when we first meet on September 2nd, basically, trying to get you guys up to speed. Don't worry about the stats labs. They're later in the semester, and if you look, they're only 20% of your total grade, so even if you hate math, you can still do quite well in this class. Then we have a midterm, and the midterm is on the 14th of October, and then we will have a final during the normal exam period for this class block, for whatever class block you're in. Trying to think if there's anything else. Again, if you have any questions, you have the syllabus, email me, contact me, call me, whatever. And look for the next video dealing with the readings that are assigned for the week of... look for the next video for the readings that are assigned for 8/26 and 8/28 to be up certainly by Monday of next week. And these readings, again, should be up by Tuesday, August 19th. So with that, guys, thank you for watching. And I look forward to meeting you all I look forward to meeting you all in person. Thanks.